What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about the future of Mafia. So here we are, a few weeks removed from the old country. We get some time to breathe and, some time to look back and reflect, and, a lot of that I've already done in these past videos. So what I wanted to do here was just kind of ramble a little bit on what do we do now? Like, what do they, well, really, them, what do they do now, right? Do you do more kind of spin-off, smaller scale things? Do you try for another, like, big open world thing? Like, what should the plan be? What should the timeline be? A lot of those things I want to talk about in this video. Of course, let me know in the comments what you guys think. I think it's an interesting one. I really wanted to make this video specifically, and I was kind of saving it towards the end here because one thing that's been pretty apparent ever since the old country has come out is, well, you got somebody like me who has just loved it. I think actually as time has gone on, I've loved it more and more and more. This is a top 3, top 4 game of the year for me. You also have people that were just flat out not into it. And not just flat out not into it, but Mafia fans that were flat out not into it because it wasn't really doing what they wanted for the franchise or, all these videos I've made. And then this, kind of where I wanted to start this video even now. So many comments, back and forth. There's some people, again, that do love this game and do like the direction the old country took it. But, for every one of those, I could see one comment on any of my videos talking about, hey, can we try like this open world thing again? Or, hey, like, why did we, move away from it? This wasn't like the right decision. So, the game sold well, seemingly. It definitely seemed to sell rather quickly. When I'm recording this, they still haven't talked about like if it hit 1 million or so. But I imagine, well, even when I'm recording this, by the time the video goes up, I think this game's going to hit a couple million, to be honest with you, especially with future discounts. And the game's already not expensive, right? $50 at least US. Come Black Friday, if it drops to like 30, difference between like how much money they make versus how many units are actually sold. But I could see this game easily reaching 2-3 million units, and hopefully it's a game and part of a franchise that sells well like year over year. Next year it's still selling, year after, so on. Okay, so with all that being said, what do you do now? Well, there has been talk and there has been rumors dating back before I feel like the old country was even revealed, and then when it was revealed, that this wasn't the only thing, that they were also doing more on top of it. And you can go back all the way to the definitive edition. And this channel was around back then. I made videos and we had all these talks. And remember, of course, the Las Vegas thing. And not necessarily a current time, but more current than, they went backwards, right? They literally went back in time versus going forward. But remember the idea of like, hey, it's going to be in Vegas and going to be these multi-decade type things where you're really going to see the city grow and change based off the decisions you make. So there are all these rumors of like a multi-decade Vegas thing, and I feel like that's still around from what I see online. Now, rumors are rumors, right? They could happen, they could not happen, but I feel like there's always been this inkling that they have been doing something else. And I don't know if there's necessarily definitive proof. And the only reason I'm saying that, by the way, right? Not only, okay, what should they make, but then how long, is it going to take? And are they starting from scratch? Are they starting right now, right? Like after Mafia, the old country ships, are they shifting their focus to blank? And that's the first day at the job, right? That's when they start that game. Now you got to wait 4 or 5 years for that game to come out. Now, to be honest with you, the realist in me would kind of want to believe that just to be safe and to keep expectations in check. Would I like a Mafia game every 2 or 3 years? Yeah, I think that would actually be really cool. And especially because I really liked the old country. If you can give me like 8 to 10 hour Mafia games and set at different places, set at different time periods, if you can do that every 2-3 years, I would sign up for that 1,000 times over. Okay. The reality is that that's probably not going to happen. The reality is there's only one team, or one studio, I should say, that is making the game at a time. And they could have 2 teams, they could have 1 team, but you're not having like 4 different studios contribute, and each one, like Call of Duty, right? Each one takes a turn and it's on like a 3-year rotation. Mafia does not have that. So while I want these almost anthology type games to come out, because I think that would actually be kind of cool, that's most likely not the case. So, weirdly enough, I guess, to start with the timeline first and then to talk about what the game could be, to kind of finish that thought, I guess, I feel like you got a long time to wait. I think best case scenario is hopefully one of my DLC ideas sticks, and all joking aside, could they do like a meaty DLC expansion? I think that would be cool. I think that would be a nice, like, hey, let's have part of the team give us an expansion, do it in 9 months from now, okay? Because then, okay, now you have Mafia content next year, and then you have the rest of the team start the next game, if they haven't started already, which, again, debatable. Maybe they already did, and that would be best of them to have already started the next game like a year or two ago. That way you kind of have a head start, right? But even under what I'm saying now, if you release a DLC next year, and then, okay, well, now you have a bridge. Now, all of a sudden, this next Mafia game, if it comes out in 2028, now you're waiting 2 years. Or if it comes out in 2029, now you're only waiting 3 years instead of 3 or 4 years from right now, okay? So that's the first thing. As to what the game would be, I mean, I just said it, but I will say, because I like to see all sides of things, I like to try to talk about them, in these videos just to give it a shot. Look, I talked a lot about Mafia 3 leading into the old country, and I said a lot of things, and I stand by a lot of things, but does it mean they can never try it again? No, and I feel like I did say that. I guess, look, again, to be honest with you, I think Mafia works the best when it is a more linear experience. That is just Mafia 1, Mafia 2, Mafia 4, if you call the old country 4, okay? I believe that those are the stronger games. I believe that the strengths of the franchise show themselves through that kind of style, all right? Now, there are different locations, there are different characters. Style meaning how the game operates, right? Open world versus non-open world. I think that's where it's at its best. Now, does that mean it always has to be that way? No. Does that mean you can't implement and, try to change some things? Could you make a 15-hour Mafia game where you can do some crime-related activities on the side? You can do side missions, but not too many, right? Maybe like 20 side missions, and you can expand the game by 3 to 5 hours. Could you do that? Yes. And to be honest with you, I guess my perfect world, and it could be a cop-out, is I would like something like that. I guess it's not really a cop-out because I will stand on I want a more linear game. So do I want another 30 to 50-hour Mafia game? No, factually, I do not. Now, if you want to give me a Mafia game that's 30, 40 hours that has all of these side things you can do and all these collectibles, and it really is that long, I mean, I just feel it's incredibly difficult to make a game like Mafia, and you even look at how they talked, like the studio talked as we were leading into the old country. It doesn't even sound like they feel like good about that. It doesn't sound comfortable. That's really the word. They don't really sound comfortable. The style and type of game that they know they can create, that I believe, me personally, I believe they created that with the old country. Can you do that tripling the size? No. You really probably couldn't. Now, again, is there wiggle room? Yeah, probably. I think, you look at the old country, you look at, these promised DLC things that are probably going to be pretty small, right? But there's still going to be something. Is that almost your starting point? Could you start there for the next game? Yeah. Could you look at a game that has free roaming or it has some like compounds? See, again, you had some things in 3, and I think 3, it functions solid, like the gunplay and all that stuff. And, at its core, the story missions and Lincoln as a character, it was good. There was some good there. But, the repetition just absolutely, in my opinion, destroyed it. Absolutely destroyed it. Making it big did not make it better. It made it repetitive. And that just, honestly, it watered down the experience. It didn't highlight it. You were looking at 10 different story missions that were really good, but they were sandwiched between triple the length of boring, repetitive stuff on top of it. So the good stuff was buried. And I think, again, that's something you got to be very careful with this franchise in particular, is it thrives when you're on a path, when a very defined path by them, because they know they kind of have to lead you down there in order to tell or have the game, the way they want to have it. So again, cop out, but maybe not really cop out. My ideal Mafia game would be somewhere in the range of a 15-hour game. Give me a little bit more than the old country, but I value quality over quantity. That's one of my main mottos. I talk a lot. I can't shut up on this channel, but one of the main things I say, by the way, not just about Mafia. I say this for freaking hundreds of games across a decade on this channel, all right? Quality will always be quantity to me. So you give me 15 hours, 10 hours is a story, 5 hours is side content. You give me that, it'll always be better than a more bloated, say, 50-hour game where 35, 40 hours is fluff. Yes, it might have 10 good hours, but it has 40 bad hours, so it's like, well, that's the same amount of good, except actually I think the overall game is worse because you're making us go through bad stuff. Maybe there's not bad stuff in that shorter game. So that's where I'm at. That's what I would like to see going forward. Honestly, like setting-wise, I mean, I like the idea of going to Sicily. Do you go back to America? Like, you could go even earlier. Like, I mean, we played around in the very early 1900s. We played around with a couple different actually multiple decades with Mafia 1, 2, 3, right? And we jumped around different locations, too, in the U.S. I would really could take either of them. I do like that Vegas idea. I will say, in terms of that open world and that the dynamic kind of nature, I like the idea of seeing like what you do as the mob, like evolve the city. So like, and I don't know if you would have to make choices or if it's like a story content type thing where you do your missions and how your group, your family, right, is changing like the landscape of the area, how that visually actually changes things as the year goes. And I mean, I think Mafia 1 probably did that the best, where you could literally, whether mainly it was like kind of your camp, right, your area, you could kind of see the influence growing, but we've never really gotten it all too much, where the decisions you make throughout like the campaign actually influences like the area around you. That would be a cool thing to do. And that, I mean, that is a more open worldy type thing. I got to give it to them on that regard. So let me know, like I said earlier, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.